He's going to drive me crazy.
Hey everyone, welcome to Happiness Time.
Hello.
That was because we started like 4 times.
Yeah, so this time it's going to be good. It's going to be really good. We're talking about some good stuff today. We're talking about mental health and emotional health. Have you kind of felt like that's been tried in the last 6 weeks? I have. So what are we going to talk about?
You mean like tested?
Yeah, tested. Tried, tested. Stretched. Yeah, that's how I have felt, and looking forward to kind of getting on the other side of this. So what do you want to talk about today? I saw the word feelings. We're going to talk about feelings. Yeah. That's deep. That's really deep. What are we going to talk about feelings? I'm thinking of, it's more than a feeling.
Oh, please don't. Don't start singing.
I won't. I promise.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, you can just make sure you tell people when you're going to change keys.
I know. I was in choir, but I have this thing about, like, if I don't like a key, I just switch.
Change it. Don't tell anybody else she's doing it that way. So we're going to talk about feelings.
Okay.
Yeah, so what are feelings? So we have them, and a lot of people don't think about what they are. So feelings arise because of our senses, if you can believe that.
Pretty powerful
So
stuff.
whatever we see, hear, taste, touch, did I miss one? Remember and imagine. These are all related to our senses, and anything that's related to our senses that stimulates or triggers our senses
also
gives us a feeling.
Right.
Yeah, it gives us a feeling. So that's why when we smell something, we can get hungry. Or if we see something, we can, like when we go to the mall or a store and see a nice display, we can want to buy something. Yeah.
Like a nice...
Yeah, whatever.
Spring top for really gorgeous weather and...
Yeah, instead of snow today. Or you can like, you ever had this feeling? Like when you listen to music, suddenly you can remember where you were when that song was popular.
Yes.
Yes, and all this feeling and nostalgia comes over you. Sentimentalism.
Yes.
Right. So feelings are they are elicited, they come forth in us because of what we sense. And we live in a society today that's very sensibly or sensually stimulating. So people have feelings that are all over the place. So that kind of, we have positive feelings, we have negative feelings. And usually we have positive feelings towards things that we perceive to be good, and we have negative feelings towards things that we perceive to be evil. But here's where it gets complicated, is that sometimes we perceive good things as evil, and therefore we have negative emotions around things which actually are good. Yeah, like work. Yeah, and then we can also see things that are kind of evil, that are not good, as good, and desire things that we shouldn't desire.
That's a problem.
Yeah, like pornography, for example. Yeah. So things emotionally can get very scrambled up inside of us, and so an important part of having emotional and mental well-being has everything to do with how we manage the stimulants that we put into ourselves, right? And also how we focus our attention, whether we focus on things that are truly good and life-giving to us versus things that are not.
I can think of a scripture verse that goes with that.
Oh, what's that?
Keep your mind, this is from Corinthians, I think.
On the higher things.
On the higher things.
On the higher things, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. So I thought we could talk about the 3 big emotions that are kind of on the negative side, because we probably don't have to explain things like joy and, simple desires for delightful things like chocolate chip cookies, because everybody sort of gets that. But let's talk about what I call the 3 big negative ones. So depression, anxiety, and then just addictive. So desires that are addictive desires, which set up bad, like maybe bad eating habits.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we talk a little bit about, let's start with depression. So we talked last time in our last video about how people can get depressed because of their hormones are out of balance. But that's not the only reason that a person can feel depressed. Okay. A person can feel depressed if they get into a bad habit of negative thinking and negative self-talk. Right? So I don't know if you're this kind of person, but like a person who's just always focusing on what's wrong with yourself. Or always comparing yourself to other people. Always imagining that somehow everybody is better than you. Or looks better than you. Okay?
Has a better life than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that can cause us to feel depressed. Right?
Yeah.
Or we can feel depressed also because of external circumstances in our life where we feel powerless.
Like coronavirus.
Like coronavirus. So there's a lot of depression going around today, right? Because people feel powerless against the virus. And they feel trapped at home.
Yeah.
And don't feel like they can go outside, don't feel safe.
Well, we're missing people, too, in our lives.
Yeah. So external circumstances can also cause us to feel depressed. Okay, so, again, we talked last time about how we can treat hormones. We have to eat well. We have to get good sleep. We have to exercise, get outside. We have to support our body. That's one thing that we have to do. But talk a little bit about positive thinking, positive focus.
Well, the whole idea around paying attention to your thoughts and where they go has been a huge revelation for me. I don't know when that really became a big thing.
Mindfulness.
Mindfulness, yes. It's been in like the last 5 years in particular. But man, as I started to really reflect on my thinking patterns and really put some intentionality around stopping them in their tracks when they're negative, and I definitely had a lot of negative patterns of thinking. And yeah, I discovered that this is true and it's very real for me. And I have to really talk myself down off of cliffs or out of dark places. And it works. It really does work. Because a lot of times the things that I'm thinking are really not reality.
Yeah.
So
A lot of the times.
He wants to get into my brain and turn it off too.
That is when it comes to negativity.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times the negative thoughts you have are like...
have no basis in
they
reality.
have no basis in reality whatsoever.
And so then it's like giving them attention and time. Then I start wanting to punch my little thoughts out. Like, what the heck? Get out of town, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was in my 20s, I went through a period of pretty severe depression. And one of the ways I worked my way out of it, because I was worried about the future. I was worried about what I was going to do with my life. And I just didn't know. And I felt like I was going nowhere. And that was very depressing. And so instead of getting caught up in a lot of self-pity, what I started doing, I was working on an estate, doing kind of groundskeeping, landscaping, and stuff. And I was alone a lot, which was not helpful because I'm an extrovert and I like to be around people, and I had to be alone pretty much all day. So that made it even worse.
Yeah.
But
kind of like coronavirus.
But what I started getting in the habit of doing is it's just thinking about all the things, all the blessings in my life and all the things I was thankful for. And it got ridiculous after a while. I mean, but what I was what I was expressing thanks for, and thanking God for, little things, very little things at times as time went on. But it really helped because it began to shift my focus towards thinking about the good things in my life and the positive things that were happening instead of always focusing on the negative. Okay. Now, when it comes to like external circumstances, sometimes we can't change the external circumstances that we're in. And so part of overcoming depression when that's the cause is learning detachment, which is learning to accept and lean into the reality of what is instead of spending all your mental energy on wishing things were different than they were.
Right.
And a lot of we can get caught up in that cycle. It's like, oh, this isn't right, and that isn't right.
If this,
blah, blah.
if this, if this,
Yeah.
if.
Yeah, so your happiness then becomes conditional upon the external circumstances of your life changing, which a lot of times they don't, ever. And then we set ourselves up to be kind of depressed all the time.
I thought you were really going to accuse me of that, because I have had some really bad moments of that, haven't I, dear?
You have. I'm only going to pick on you
Let's
once
be
today,
honest.
though.
Oh, okay, it was only one
just
time. One time there. Okay, so just scratch that.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so that's depression. So let's talk about anxiety. Ooh, fun. Maybe I have to pick on you twice.
Well, the whole thing is actually the depression.
I don't have any anxiety though, do I? I mean, this has been one of the real blessings of our marriage, is that I just never get anxious about anything. I'm just at peace, calm.
You know what's good is that we have different things. That's what's really good. You want to marry somebody who has different points of anxiety from you. Because if you're on the same anxiety track, like, that's going to be a disaster. No, I'm just kidding. But thankfully, it is different. So I'm able to kind of help him pull out and just kind of bring back some reality for him. And he's also able to do the same for me. And it's a huge blessing.
Yeah.
Right.
So, again, high levels of cortisol.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say caffeine is also a tremendous contributor to anxiety from a physiological standpoint, or any other kind of stimulant.
It affects the adrenal gland quite intensely.
So if you're all revved up all the time, you're going to be anxious and overreactive and stressed. Yeah. And that can lead to anger, outbursts of anger and impatience and rashness. Mm-hmm. Right? These are all feelings that we can get. Yeah. So
which don't really feel good.
Yeah. So we have to sort of check ourselves, again, finding, what's the right amount. Like, not drinking too much coffee, not learning to step away from a situation when you know that it's a little much for you.
Yeah. And some things you can't change, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's out of your control.
Yeah. So self-talk, in terms of self-talk and mental states around anxiety, a lot of times people focus on things that they're afraid of.
Mm-hmm. That would be me. Mm-hmm.
They dwell on fears. And fears, most of the time, not always, but most of the time, are like looking at an ant under a magnifying glass. Yeah. Most of the time, the things we're afraid of are far less scary in real life than they really are. Yeah. And so we can have a lot of anxiety around the future. Yep. What's going to happen.
I don't really do that. That's not my fear. Yeah. That's not my track.
Yeah, that's more me. Yeah, and then we can have a lot of anxiety around past regrets.
That's not me either.
No, I think you do get worried about future stuff. Future? I do. Oh, yeah, totally. Are you kidding me? You get these little milestones like, I am not going to stop being anxious until this little event passes.
Yeah. Like,
so you get, like, this week it was...
They're usually closer. They're not, like, real far out there.
Yeah. More imminent things.
Yes, right.
Yeah. But I have long-term anxiety, fear and anxieties. I get future anxieties past depression. So I live with past regrets, which makes me feel depressed because I can't change the past. Mm-hmm. And you don't do that so much. You kind of like, it's water under the bridge. You don't look back.
I'm moving on, man.
Move on.
I got plenty of present problems. Yeah. To keep me occupied.
Yeah, right. So, in terms of, I think the key to dealing with anxiety, in terms of mental self-talk and mental states, is to focus on what you can do to conquer your fear. Mm-hmm. So, in other words, oftentimes we are afraid. We're sort of like afraid of things that we can't control, and we're neglectful of things we can control. Mm-hmm. So what we need to do oftentimes is say, okay, what can I do about this thing? Yeah. And then do it if you can do something about it. And if you can't, then you have to we have to redirect our attention onto something else and think about things that we can influence. So like right now with coronavirus, we can be incredibly anxious about what our government is doing, or if there's some grand conspiracy, or whether or not we're going to get a second wave.
I'm more worried about truth. That's my worry point on this whole thing.
Yeah, who's telling the truth?
Who's telling the truth? And those who aren't telling the truth, why are they doing that? What are they up to?
And so we can get all spun up.
Yeah.
And, just spike our cortisol levels. Yeah, so that's kind of external circumstances too. I think we have to always discern between what I can do something about and what I can't do something about. And then, again, as Christian people, a good antidote is faith. A good thing to do is to pray and to entrust whatever we're afraid of to God and trust that God knows what's going on.
And that He's good.
And He's good.
He has good in mind for us.
And He's going to take care of things.
Right.
And sometimes the timing of how and when is not what we want. Mm-hmm. Sometimes He likes us to endure things for our own good and for becoming stronger people,
right. Mm-hmm.
more courageous, more fortitude.
Yeah, and maybe even
patience.
More faithful. And in terms of, there's always this talk about evangelization. Maybe after all this, we'll be more apt to be evangelizers. To be like, you know what? I'm tired of living with the falsehoods in this world, and I'm going to start speaking truth, So, I don't know. Yeah, there could be a little more boldness, I guess you would say. Yeah. I'm feeling that way. I'm like, feeling a little fed up and like, all right.
Yeah, I always say to you, it's like, stop being so anxious about this and just go do what you can do about it and then let it go. If you want to go say something on Facebook, go say it.
Yeah.
Hopefully no one's offended by what we say on Facebook. Anyway, but let's talk about addictive binging desires. Impulsive desires impulsive feelings of desire for things that are delectable or delightful, right? So impulse control can be also another source of emotional dysfunction and mental dysfunction. So we can...
Would you say that this is really common? Like this is universal, we all experience it, it's kind of more rare? Or...
Yeah, we have different areas.
Yeah.
But I think something that's become really pervasive is the whole technology. Like the curiosity around the notifications and the dinging and my emails and checking my feeds and that's impulse control. So there's an immediate gratification, a dopamine every time we do that, and we become addicted to that. It becomes a binging behavior, and then it's kind of lifeless. It sucks the life out of us.
Out of other areas.
Yeah, and ultimately can make us feel depressed or anxious. So we want to be careful of that. But we can see this in relationship to food, in relationship to gossip, in relationship to sex, and other types of drugs and substances. Shopping can be highly, like, oh, I'm anxious and I'm depressed, so I'm going to go shopping.
I don't think we think about it that way, but we lean into different things that can be addictive in one way or another.
Right. So, hormone addiction, one of the things that we do is eat a solid diet that's fulfilling and stop eating binge foods. That helps a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And then I think...
Yeah, because one area of binging seems to kind of like, that can transfer. It can be kind of a transfer of activity in that way.
Absolutely.
Those behaviors.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next.
Surfing around our little binges.
Yep, constantly finding little quick stimulation. So, in terms of self-talk and mental states, I think one thing that's important is to be rational and reasonable, like to think clearly about the behavior and ask, is this a good, like what if I, just put it like this, like what if I had this compulsive need to go and read the label on a can of beans?
I read labels.
Like every 10 minutes, like I went in the pantry and I pulled out a can of beans and I read the label.
Yeah. Okay.
You would think, that's weird.
Yeah.
But what if everybody did it, then people wouldn't think it was weird.
Yeah.
But so we don't think about the fact that you have to pick up your phone all the time.
Yeah.
The fact that people have to get on and look at pornographic images all the time. It's like irrational.
Yeah.
It's weird. And we don't think about it that way because it's so commonplace. Because
we're accustomed to it.
Yeah. So, or when we shop and we just keep buying things, you know. So we have to focus on the reasonableness and say, is this good for me? That's really the question you have to ask, is this really helping me? Is this good for me? Am I advancing myself in any way by doing this habitual behavior?
That this is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then, external circumstances I don't think affect this one so much, except so far as that sometimes we have to turn off stimuli.
Yeah.
We have to black that out.
Or set up time frames.
Yeah. Put some external constraints and parameters on it, because it's always coming in. We always have these things coming in constantly at us, you know, trying to pull us in.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we just have to shut it out and be intentional about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyhow, one last thought I would offer is just that, you know, feelings, I think I kind of mentioned it, but feelings arise because of past regrets and also future worries and idealism. And so a great antidote to that is trying to be present to the present moment. And ask, what does God want me to do right now with my time?
Yeah.
What good can I be doing with my time right now? And just focus on that, discern it, and not live in the past, not live in the future, except insofar as, you know, we really have to plan. And
there's some planning involved. Yeah. You know, the thing I say to myself every morning at the end of a prayer, I think I've told you this before, is that the last thing I say is that this day is not about me. It's not about me. And I don't know why, but that gives me a tremendous amount of relief. Because then I say, it's all about you, Lord. My day is really all about you. And if I can take all of that focus off of me and put it on Him and just trust that He'll guide me through the day, that gives me a tremendous amount of peace. You know, because when I start thinking it's all about me, like what I accomplish and how productive I am and blah, 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 you know, it gets very stressful. And then all these things, you know, come into play. Anxiety, depression. And then I would want to go eat a cake, you know.
Yeah. Or a whole bag of potato chips.
Or a whole bag of my favorite potato chips. Yep.
And a couple beers.
With a beer. On a hot deck in the summer.
Yeah.
In my tank top.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Okay. Those are just my dreams. No, the truth is that I think I just love ending my prayer time that way. Just saying, this day is about you. It's not about me. It's about you. It's about me letting you do, Lord, whatever you want to do in my life today.
Amen.
Amen.
Appreciate it, sister. It's good.
See, I like saying it again. I feel good all over again.
All right. So that's our happiness hunch for today. Yeah, mental and emotional health. Much of it is within the power of our freedom.
Yes.
And we have to make good decisions about what we think about, how we focus our attention, what we put in ourselves.
We can direct our feelings.
Yeah.
We have something to say about our feelings. They don't just...
Yeah. Not entirely, but I mean, we can manage. We can bring them in a manageable level of reasonableness. It's not that we're gonna have ups and downs. That's part of life. You know? But they don't have to be
control us.
High peaks and low valleys.
Yeah.
It can be a little bit more level. Yeah. All right. So if you like this video, share it. Be sure to like it below. Subscribe. All the things that everybody has to say, because we're all desperate and begging you to continue to share this video. Anyway, hopefully it was helpful though. We'll come back. We'll talk some more about mental health and emotional wellness next time.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks. See ya.
See ya. Bye.